people watcher, and I've been watching you for years, and you do the best let go. You do the best one ever. I love it. I tingle. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Michael. Somebody else? No, I think we got it all. Thank you so much. More love for the band. Thank you, Ron, for the reading. As you may have noticed, it's an all-male review here today at Soul Center, and that's because we are giving mothers the day off today, somewhat. Some of them were putting on duty. But we are so grateful. So I'm assuming we've got some moms here today, and if you are a mom, I would like you to stand up. We're just going to bestow a beautiful Mother's Day blessing on you. If you're a mom of a two-legged, stand up. If you're a mom of a four-legged, I'd like you to stand up as well. Any furry mothers, we want to have you to stand up. And as you stand up, the rest of us are going to extend our heart through our hands. And you're just receiving. You're not doing anything. You can open if you want, and you can receive this blessing. We take a moment. We extend our heart through our hands and we offer this blessings. We give so much thanks as we enter into this field of God, knowing how good it is that mother nurture, that mother power, that mother presence, that loves, that is so unconditional. We are so grateful for our mothers, those that are here, those that may be on the other side of the veil. We give so much thanks. We take a moment and we bless you for all of the service that you have put forward. It is time that you allow yourself to receive the goodness back, minimally tenfold, allowing it to multiply and magnify itself to and through it as blessings and blessings and goodness and peace and spaciousness, wellness and gratitude. We bless this upon you. We ask that you receive it into your bones right here, right now. And if you will receive this, I ask you to please say, I receive it. I receive it. I let it be. I let it be. And so it is. And so it is. Amen. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to Soul Center. Happy Mother's Day. And as you know, we are here celebrating our mothers across the world, across the board. And we're also celebrating the divine feminine mother within us all. All of us have an equal amount of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And we're taking, it's the yin and yang of taking that and allowing ourselves to be so fully orbed. There's been a lot of talk over the past few years about the rising of the divine feminine. And it's kind of like, well, what does that mean, the divine feminine? The divine feminine is that aspect of God that is fully and wholly nurturing, as the theme or the topic for today is the power of Mother Nurture. Nurture is to empower. It is to cultivate the very best in something and in someone. And so the divine feminine within us is that part that nurtures. It not only nurtures us, but it nurtures all of life. And so I'm asking you this day to allow yourself to open up to that divine feminine within all of us and allow Mother Nurture. And nurturing is also something it has always done in benevolent and beautiful ways. And that is the way God operates. God only operates in benevolent and beautiful ways. God operates through bliss, through truth that sets us free, and we are opening to that this day. One of my favorite passages in Scripture is that, escaping me for a moment, let me just look over here, is that the meek shall inherit the earth. And so when we think of the word meek, sometimes we think of, something that might be on the weaker side, the meek that are timid and maybe small or shrink or something like that. But if you look in Scripture, if you look throughout the Hebrew Bible, if you look throughout the Christian Bible and many other sacred texts, meek is a powerful experience. Meek, as Moses was stated in the Hebrew Bible, was one of those who encapsulated the meekness, which means you're allowing yourself to be soft. You're allowing yourself to be soft so that you may step into power. The power and the presence of the Holy Spirit, The power and the presence of your divine nature. There is an aspect of you that is so powerful, that is so grand, that is so glorious, that has nothing to do with your personality, that has everything to do with your soul, that has everything to do with being born in the image and likeness of God. And that is what we are here to nurture. We are here to practice mother nurturing of that and to cultivate that from within us. And so one of my favorite books that I think is the most simplest, the most beautiful, the most profound is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah. And one of the most powerful tenets in that book is to not take things personally. So there's a new companion book to The Four Agreements that just came out recently. So I'm going to invite you all, if you have a copy of that book, to go ahead and dig it out and read it through again and get that companion copy, because it allows you to take it just a little bit deeper. Years ago, it was about 10 years ago or so, I'm a businessman, and in addition to being a minister here, I haven't always really liked that aspect of life, and that was one of those things where I had to kind of grow into. You've heard me share before, if there are things that you don't like and it would behoove you and benefit you to like them, then you might start liking them, because it'll make life a lot easier. If you don't like going to the gym and it would be good for you to go to the gym, you better start liking going to the gym. You call it forward in a way that you will like, and you make it authentic, and it's win-win. Well, I didn't used to like being a businessman. I didn't like it. I liked the part that I participate in, which is offering classes and teaching, but there's a business aspect of it where that money has to come in. And so for many years, for about 20 some odd years, I've been the owner of a business that some of you are aware of up in Sherman Oaks called Omen Garden. And it's a great metaphysical, spiritual gift and event store. That's not a commercial, I'm just giving you a little bit of backstory. Years ago, it was probably 10, 11 years ago, we were faced with, as the onset of the financial crisis was starting, it started to hit us a little bit earlier. We started to see what was coming ahead of time. And so we went from being a 5, or actually it was about a 6-person staff down, slowly started to dwindle. We started to have to make cutbacks and things like that. And then it got to a point where we decided one day, after sitting with it, that we had a couple friends that had worked for us for many years, and they wanted to go into business from themselves. So we decided, what a great idea, because we had 2,000 feet of square footage, that we were going to sublease 450 square feet to take that burden off of our plate and lower our overhead expenses, because we didn't really need that space. So we made some agreements, and we had a little agreement that was written up on paper that had a lease that they signed for the sublease that was going to last for about 6 years before it went into an option after that. Well, very quickly, a lot of the other pieces of the puzzle in the lease were left out as terms of, kind of formalities of who's going to do what and parking and this and that. And there were certain things that were kind of left up to just, being in integrity and being of common sense about certain things. And we had verbal agreements that you were not to park behind the store, that all the parking behind the store was for customers, and that all of the employees had to park somewhere else, which is fairly easy to do. But almost every day they would pull up and park in the back, and there was always I can't find parking, it's so horrible, and they would strew their stuff everywhere. So it started to kind of build in this direction where it was like, we're starting to see that this isn't really working out as well as we thought it would. And so, I am a firm believer of the embodiment of spiritual principle and spiritual practice. And like I said, not taking things personally is where I'm going with this here. And for years, I used to take things very personally. Somebody could just look at me the wrong way and I would want to crumble into a ball on the ground. And so I'm a much radically different person. I think I've shared with you before that I used to have a big problem with confrontation of any kind because I didn't want to upset anyone. I didn't want to rock the apple cart. And so as I started practicing through meditation and prayer and taking principle, and it's like, if you look at spiritual principle, one of the most powerful things you can do is say, how does that look, feel, and work through me? How does the oath of manifestation work, feel, look, and experience itself through me, as me? Any of the principles connected to divine right fulfillment, you want to be able to embody that. And so to ask the question, what does that look like through me? You're asking God Almighty, What does that look like and how does it experience itself? What does freedom and spaciousness, having more than enough time, look like through me? So that's kind of the tenet where I come from. I'm a real kind of get in there and see what it's going to look like and allow your life to be your laboratory and see what works and what doesn't work. And so that particular time I had been working on specifically not taking things so personally. And so I had made great strides, and I got to the point where I was like, oh wow, I can talk to people just about anything. Nothing bothered me anymore. A lot of my people pleasing and my worthiness issues had cleared because of diligence, of consistent meditation and prayer. And we were talking the other day in our meditation class I guess it was this past week, the difference between meditation and prayer, because there's just a soft little veil between the two. They're very similar in vibration and frequency. And meditation is what allows you to come into an awareness of something. So when you're reflecting, you become aware of something. It's a communion with God that is steeped in an awareness. Prayer is an activation that allows you to activate it into your bones and into your experience. And that is what we choose to do. So you're taking the meditation and becoming aware of something, and you're taking the prayer and you're activating it so that you can embody it and you can have the experience of prosperity consciousness. You can have the experience of a miraculous healing taking place in your body temple. Now, as you bring the infinite eternal into time and space, it's going to matriculate through your body temple and your body of affairs. And that may take a little time because we're in time and space. And so we want to allow ourselves to be diligent and to be devotional and to be mindful at the very altar of God that we continue the practice. We don't just meditate once and pray once and I'm arrived, I'm enlightened. It's an ever-expanding good practice. So I had been working on it and embodying that, like, what is it like to not take things personally? So one day, after these colleagues of ours, we had decided, it had been coming up on about a year, and it just felt, as I turned within and I got an awareness, that this really wasn't a deal that was working for us, because there was a lot of things, and I'm not going to list them all, but no less than a dozen things that were out of integrity with the way we operate business. And so we had decided that we wanted to terminate the agreement that we had for the lease. And so it was just going to be a friendly conversation. Little did I know. And it wasn't going to be like, we want you out now or anything like that. So I went over to one of the owners and I just said, we really don't think this is working out the way we imagined, and kind of list some of the points and said it in a very benevolent and kind and warm-hearted way with no threat attached to it. But, every once in a while you can deliver the news as the messenger, the harbinger of truth and love, and somebody may just take it wrong. And so she was livid, and she started yelling and screaming, and she said, we have a contract, we have a lease, we are never moving, we are never leaving. And she's like, in my face. And so I'm waiting, and what I noticed, which was so great, was all of that anger energy was going, if you are susceptible to it, if you take things personally, it's going to be a not great experience. But at that particular point, I was impervious. And as you've maybe heard Reverend Michael talk about before, it's kind of like spiritual Teflon, where that comes over and it just slides right off. But the true embodiment of it isn't that I'm right and she's wrong, or that I'm impervious to that energy. It's really nice to be impervious because it means you're embodying the principle. And I was like, wow. Afterwards, as I was reflecting, I was like, oh my goodness. But at the same time, as you awaken, I could see exactly what was going on. And I knew that I had inadvertently pressed a button that very much threatened her existence at a core level that had more to do. So it made her unavailable for a rational conversation that could have gone something along the line. So we just want to work out a timeline and see how this goes. And it just so happens that we wanted our space back. We had new visions of what was coming through. We needed that space. And it was originally intended that the space would come back to us, although a little further down the line. So she was unavailable to have that conversation. And so what I was able to do was, I said, okay, we'll talk about it later, just kind of take a moment to ease the idea of threat in the moment, because it felt like we were asking her to give up her dreams. That's what she was feeling. And I had a conscious awareness of how that was affecting her. That's when you don't take something personally. It leaves you in a space of empowered compassion. This is nurturing yourself. When you nurture yourself benevolently in beautiful ways, you become divinely powerful, which is a strength that requires no effort. That is the best kind of power. Divine strength is when you can move mountains and you don't have to get a shovel. You don't even have to get one of those tractor trailers or anything like that. You just allow yourself to commune and connect with the divine in a particular way. So I took it back inside and I sat with it. I was like, oh, okay. Compassion and love. So I started to pray and bless them, the feeling safe and secure, all while sticking true to the vision, because checking in with the vision, it's like, okay, well, what is the call here? And the call was still that it is our space. So this is one of those things. Now, the universe, as you know, once we had a topic here about the vibrational power of yes, the universe always says yes. And so I was like, okay. And once in a while, in order to receive our yes, we have to say no in a particular way. And the no that I was saying is no to giving up on what is right and what is good and what are my dreams. And so that is the no, because I could have acquiesced and gone into people-pleasing mode, and I could have said like, oh, okay, well, we'll just muddle through for the next 6 years until the option comes up, etc., etc. But I decided to go into that place of nurturing and empowering and allow myself to commune and connect with Spirit in a particular way that gave me guidance. And I was assured that they were going to move on. And she told me, absolutely never will this happen. And so I just stayed true. And for the next 4 months, I just continued to be cordial and friendly and empowering and blessing and hold to my prayer. And 4 months, almost to the day later, she said, oh, we're moving. And 6 months later, they were out and they were able, and it was a blessing for them. They got a better space, a better situation. It was much better. We got our space back. And so the point I am trying to make here is that when you are in command, you have dominion over your life, but the dominion you have, which is different than control, because control is associated with the ego, and the ego generally predicates certain things on needing to be a certain way in order for you to be happy. Dominion is allowing yourself to be stayed on God, stayed on truth, unmoved and unwavered as you allow yourself to embody the nurturing, the mother nurturing, the divine feminine that then mixes and mingles with the divine masculine, because the divine masculine is that part of our beingness that allows us to take action. Divine feminine is that part of our beingness that allows us to nurture and come from a place of empowerment. And then we step into it. And so what I'm asking you today is to also remember that there's this Darwin. Most of you are familiar with survival of the fittest. And Charles Darwin, he's mostly known for that particular statement, survival of the fittest, which means that there's a particular order. And what he was talking to back then was that there's a particular order in which life evolves and allows strengths to come up from within them. But there was an incomplete statement as to what he was teaching. He wasn't teaching that it's survival of the fittest, that you have to get all into your fight or flight response and make things happen, because he goes on to say, and I quote, "In the long history of humankind and animal kind too, those who learn to collaborate and improvise most efficiently have prevailed." And he's talking about divine cooperation. And divine cooperation is what we are choosing to embody in our lives, to embody in our body temples. We want divine cooperation with all organs, muscles, bones, and tissues. which starts to show up. If you call something forward into your life, if you evoke it, if you call it forward, and then the most important part after you evoke this prayer is you allow it to be, which is why every time we pray after a prayer or a treatment, we say, and so it is, and so I let it be, because that makes the agreement. That means you're signing off that you will receive it. Although sometimes people say, and so it is, and I don't know if they're and so it is, if you look at the subtext, really means that I'm going to receive it. So we're going to proclaim here today that when we do our prayers, and when you say, and so it is, you really mean it. You are allowing yourself to receive your good, fully, completely, benevolently, and even better than you could ever imagine. That is what we are proclaiming here today, because our definitions mean everything in our life, how we have anything defined. And so we are tapping into our meekness. Hashtag meek and powerful. That's what we are bringing forward today. I want to get that going. Hashtag meek and powerful. I'm hip. I'm contemporary. And so we are allowing ourselves to be meek, to be soft, and to be nurturing and step into our power. I will tell you, at times, if you haven't done your spiritual proactive homework, then sometimes when those waves of energy come towards you, they can be a little jarring. And that is why in our downtime, so to speak, when you have time to rest and relax, we want to be spiritually proactive. Everybody I see a bunch of people who are in the meditation class on Wednesday. Was it hard? It was super easy, very relaxing. We just go into a space, we move into a space of observation, of awareness, of allowing, and we start to cultivate the nurturing of moving mountains in our lives. And so we are going to cultivate that, because we know in God all things are good. And that is one of the principles that we live by. In God all things are good. And so we are allowing ourselves to receive, and I'm talking about capital G good. Not lowercase g good, where it's like, oh yeah, that was really nice. It's like, oh no, capital G good is bliss. It is grace. It is awe. And a byproduct of grace, bliss, and awe is gratitude. And when you're steeped in a real, pure, holy sense of gratitude, there is almost nothing better. It will bring you to your knees with tears of joy, and I love that experience. Not always on the knees, sometimes just in bed or sitting in a chair, but it's always wonderful to have that experience. And so we open to that, and so we're just going to participate in a little sharing of this experience. And one of the other tenets in Scripture is that when two or more are gathered, this is where we can really move mountains. There has been some research done that one person praying in a particular way, in a holy, pure sense of divine enlightenment, can affect 100,000 lives benevolently and beautifully. The power and the frequency of the benevolent light of the Holy Spirit is all there is, truly. But if you want to affect change in your world of effects, your world of experience, this is how we harness it. So in the honor of two or more gathered here today, I'm going to just ask you to turn to your neighbor. And if that neighbor is either on your side or behind you, and we're just going to share a few declarations with each other. So I'm going to invite you to do that. And some of you might have to do it as a duo. Some might be a trio. We don't want to leave anybody out. All right? And we're just going to share. We're just going to say simultaneously right after me to each other out loud. We're just going to say, clarity fills our minds with divine providence. Clarity fills our minds with divine providence. Inspired enthusiasm motivates our every thought. Inspired enthusiasm motivates our every thought. Word and deed. Word and deed. We are meek and nurtured with divine strength. We are meek and nurtured with divine strength. Benevolent satiation always fulfills our heart's desires. Benevolent satiation always fulfills our heart's desires. We grow and heal in divine and joyous ways.
We grow and heal divine and joyous ways.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so I let it be.
And so I let it be.
Amen.
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 Ashe.
Ashe.
Aho.
Aho.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Hotep.
Hotep.
And hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And with that, I'm going to ask you to join me as we turn within. We have activated that field, and now we are going to bathe in the field. I invite you to just turn within with me in this moment, whether your eyes are opened or whether they're closed, but to be in a place of divine receptivity, opening willingly our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls, our lives to the infinite power, the presence, the omniamorous light of the Holy Spirit of God. We allow that presence that is more of who we are than anything else to fill and thrill us, to mingle and tingle with our bones, our tissues, our cells, our emotions, and our mind. We allow ourselves to hear the thoughts of God, to see the sights of God, to feel the knowingness of God within us, the truth that sets us free. We open to this in benevolent and glorious ways. I am so grateful this day to know that each and every one of us is proclaiming wholeheartedly with emphatic, divine, profound expectancy to increase our capacities right here today to hold more joy and more love and more wellness and more goodness and more prosperity than ever before. We allow it to benevolently increase and expand in joyous and beautiful ways. I am truly grateful to know that God says a yes. And we resonate with that yes, with our yes, to receive our good. I am grateful to know that God brings forward the kingdom of heaven to, through, and as our lives, as we allow it, as we accept it. And it is from this place of divine expectancy that we allow a benevolent transformation to awaken itself to us, that we open up the receptors to feel and see and hear and know the truth that sets us free, that we allow compassion to be so steeped, that we allow nurtured energy of divine strength to be so expressive that we move mountains effortlessly in the dominion of the Holy Spirit of the living God into and through and as our lives. We accept it right here, right now, and once again we allow all of this to be, proclaiming it so by saying, and so it is. And so I let it be. Amen. Thank you. And I think it is now time for the ushers to come forward as we move into our time of conscious giving. And just remembering as we move into this time of conscious giving, as we are participating in prosperity consciousness, that we are circulating the promise and the promissory note, that which we call cash or money. We are allowing that which it says right here on our money, in God we trust. We are allowing ourselves to trust emphatically in that and know that God is our source and our supply. And as we participate in circulation, it is from a place of giving and knowing that as we circulate this, we expect it to come back to us minimally tenfold. This is what we proclaim. This is what we allow. And now I invite the ushers to come forward as you prepare your tithe